Welcome to the GK Big Earnings Show. We have an exciting show planned for you today. Tesla's going to be reporting earnings after the close. The market just closed. The market was kind of mixed today. It was mostly lower. There was a lot of selling in technology stocks. There was a lot of selling in the stay-at-home stocks. Tesla ended about even. So we really didn't see anybody taking a position into earnings, closed around 422. So the real action is going to happen soon. As far as our disclaimers, we're going to be talking about stocks. And of course, there's risk in stocks. You should talk to a financial advisor before you make any investment decisions. I think it's really, really important for you to understand that any investment decisions you make are your own. The purpose of the show is for informational use only. And hopefully, as you know, past performance is not indicative of future results, and all investments have risk. So we're talking about Tesla today. So the market's closed, and as Tesla breaks earnings, we're going to break right into those. I've got to my right one of the greatest young traders that I've ever found, Brett Sifling. He represents the younger generation of traders. He's kind of an option stock prodigy. That's why we hired him at the crisp age of probably 22, I think, when we hired him. And now he's real old. And then over here we have managing partner Eyal Shmilovich, who is also part of our GK technology group and video game group. And Eyal also is kind of in charge of our Tesla club here in Los Angeles, or a member, and kind of works with a lot of the Tesla employees and stock owners that we do business with. So we have Eyal here as well today. Everybody's going to be providing their insights into what we're seeing after hours and what we're seeing in the markets today. So we're kind of in wait and see mode until companies start reporting. We also have some great people working behind the scenes, Alan and Mia, Hugo, Raquel, all working on production. So we've got a great team. We're going to be putting on our own shows from now on. We're going to be updating the technology as well. And we figure, why not go straight to the source? Most of the media today is too, I'd say, busy trying to drum up ratings with goofballs. So we've decided it was time for us to step up and do our own thing. So now we're seeing, some of the quotes from today. Disney had a stronger day today, fighting with the governor about opening up the theme parks and going all in on streaming, which is also good for Disney. You could also kind of see that in the Netflix report. You want to talk about Netflix for a minute?
Yes, I mean, Netflix was down. The best way I thought it was described to me was, just think about your own pandemic life, right? Like in March, you were really sitting at home watching Netflix a lot, and now maybe you're starting to go out a little bit more. And so,
are you going out? Is there something to do?
A little bit. We can go outside and eat.
I mean, I've had dinner.
So subscribers, so they missed on subscribers. They did all right on revenue. But ultimately, they were also attributed to the Cuties movie. So that was a huge issue that they had this quarter.
I think that's all the cancel culture.
That's what some of it they attributed to.
Listen, their numbers were great when they didn't add a lot of subs because they added them all the previous quarters. Only so many human beings. So they've net add 28 million this year. It's more than all of last year. Totally. They still got a quarter to go. The way I look at it is Netflix is just a really expensive stock.
It always has been too.
So at $1.
Some of the other stuff that's out there. I remember when we used to say 10 times revenue was an expensive stock, but given that some of the stocks that people follow now are 50, 60, 70 times revenue.
Yeah, but that doesn't make something less expensive. It's like Beverly Hills. And when you shop in Beverly Hills, you think everything should just cost like $5,000. You walk in, you want a purse, it's $10,000. You walk into another store for a suit. So you just kind of start thinking everything's in thousands, right? And that doesn't mean that that's a good buy because something's $3,000 that really should cost like $300. And I think that's the issue with a lot of stocks in the market today. A lot of people don't understand the concept of valuation. That's the work we do. Is like, what is Netflix really worth? So let's for an example, $8 of run rate earnings, let's say, okay, 50 times earnings, which is, I think it deserves a lower multiple. It's a mature company. 50 times is a very generous multiple. And, 8 times 5 is what? It's 400, right? So you get $400 a share. Maybe you go to 450 because you're feeling good, okay? Maybe you give them 450, okay? But the stock's trading at, 550 and now it pulls back. This is not a bad thing. This is not a bad thing. This is what Netflix is worth. And so it doesn't. So if you're a guy who just buys and sells all day, I can tell you you're not going to end up making money. But if you're an investor, you want these pullbacks. And that's the same thing with Tesla today. If Tesla disappoints because they spent more money on Berlin to increase the speed of the factory's development, by no means is that bad. Maybe earnings are less than what people might want, but that's what you want. You want them investing in the Berlin factory. And I think that's what a lot of short-term investors make the mistake doing is, they missed on their earnings and they're missing the bigger picture. And they've done this with Tesla for years, right? So a lot of companies like Netflix advance a lot of money up front for their future growth, just like they did with programming. Now it paid off, right? Because it's hard to make a movie now, and Netflix has all this stuff in the can. So I would argue that Netflix has some of the better shows that they've had in a long time on right now. I haven't got to Cuties yet, but maybe I'll watch it. I don't know. What do we got? A star on the screen? Is that Cutie or something?
They did start. They did start refilming stuff like Stranger Things again, which is one of the shows that what I felt honestly is kind of like what Brett was saying. When the pandemic started, I ate up all the content on Netflix, and now I'm kind of out of some of the stuff to watch.
Well, I would also argue you got to compete with Call of Duty. You got to compete with 5 sports leagues at the same time, all in the playoffs. It was like, I don't think anybody's behaviors changed that much. I mean, honestly, like if there was something really fun to do, that involves a lot of people, I probably wouldn't go because I don't want to get COVID, right? And so it's like, so I make this choice every night, like you do: video games, Netflix, read a book. I play guitar every night. Like what are you doing with your time? Because honestly, like going out and hanging out with a group of friends at a bar doesn't exist really, And so I think Netflix just did too well in the first half of the year.
They did, and Reed Hastings said that last quarter. He basically said, they guided down significantly last quarter because of that. And they kind of knew this was coming. To me, honestly, Netflix is television at this point. So
it's better than cable. Yeah. I mean, it's better than cable.
Yeah, I hope it goes to $4.50 because I do want to buy that.
Honestly, I have some new clients. I bought some Netflix today, a little bit, but I need these days down to accumulate Netflix. But when you think about a company that adds 25 to 30 million subscribers every year with an average of $100 a year per subscriber, and you start looking at that business, you start to say, hey, this is a gold mine, right? I mean, like, when does the Netflix train end? 20% reoccurring revenue growth.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think if you can get it at 50 times earnings, somewhere around 400, that's a buy for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll get down that far,
And don't be scared of these pullbacks too. Like, this is when you want to be buying stocks, is when they pull back, not when they're breaking out to all-time highs and things.
Exactly.
Accumulating a position and dollar cost averaging over time. So, people, the general public gets scared when these things happen.
Well, and I think that goes back into exactly what you're saying. People who are inexperienced like to buy stocks that are moving higher, and they buy them. Basically, they're momentum investors, right? They don't think about the fact I want to wait till the day that they get hammered. There's no patience involved. They want to own the stock. Like, there's a few stocks I want to own right now I don't own because they're just too high. So I look for these days, like when Netflix gets hurt, maybe Tesla gets hurt, and then I look for those days to accumulate. I don't accumulate just because the thing keeps running up. I mean, a perfect example.
Tesla just hit wire.
All right, what do we got for Tesla?
Beat 76 cents versus 56 cents.
76 cents, I think, is what was expected.
Revenue.
So we're up after hours, right off the gate.
8.8 billion in revenue versus 8.3 expectations.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good revenue
nice
number out of Tesla. Not surprising considering their deliveries. What else?
It's up after hours, 4.35.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it moving higher, up $9. We have it up $10.
$10.
So it looks like we're going to escape any major declines today for Tesla. I think they did a good job managing expectations, and you saw that pre-market. These days are nerve-wracking for me. I mean, we have a lot of money in Tesla, and so it's like every time we do this, and we do it live. Okay, so what are the numbers? What do you guys got for me?
1.8 billion in EBITDA versus $1 billion in the same quarter last year. So
1.8 billion. Nice.
Q3 operating margins was 9.2% versus 4.1% the same quarter last year. So
what about
operating
gross
margins?
margins? What about gross?
It hasn't hit yet.
Yeah, they don't have that. I'm looking.
All right,
But-
so Tesla keeps moving higher after hours. Now we're up $14. We haven't got to the
440.
conference call or anything. I think that's at 2:30 or so.
Q3 production 145,036 deliveries.
So deliveries were what higher than they said
145K.
earlier. I think deliveries are higher than what they originally said. They always adjust.
It might have been 139.5.
That's what I thought it was. 139.
But just the expected earnings was 57 cents, and they did 76.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, I saw the consensus estimates for all the analysts. I mean, the bottom line is Tesla's expectations are super high, and that's the scary part of it. And so, these are good numbers out of Tesla, especially on the revenue side. Beating by 7 to 10% over estimates. My main thing. We've got another quarter of profitability that also keeps them eligible for S&P inclusion. How they're not included in the biggest index of American companies is sort of a joke. So now I've got Tesla up at $18 after hours. This is ideal.
Just over 9.2% operating margin in Q3 is what they said.
Right.
Yeah.
We just got that.
So they also said that their energy storage business reached a new record deployment of 759 megawatts in Q3.
I mean, energy storage to me is a wonderful business, except that it's using batteries that they need for cars, which is higher margin.
They're saying that they have the capacity installed right now to produce and deliver 500,000 vehicles this year.
I love those Tesla statements. We have the capacity installed. Yeah. In other words, if we work the hell out of everybody for the next quarter, we'll make our numbers. So that's my prediction. Tesla's going to do 498,000 cars this year, and they will lose at least 3 employees by the end of the year who will die of stress. I mean, there's no question. I mean, I know the way they do this at Tesla, like he sets goals that are like really hard to achieve. So I was trying to figure out like how Tesla could achieve 180 deliveries to hit 500,000. And according to my math, they couldn't hit it, So the statement like we have the capacity installed means that China is expanding. That's what it means.
Super exciting too.
Because it's like, I thought China was going to do 150,000 cars this year, and I think they're already on a run rate to do that. Yeah. And I know they added a Model Y line. Maybe they added a Model Y line, they can get to 200,000
that
cars.
Factory is going to be pumping.
Dude.
Pumping.
And higher margin, dude. Think about the higher margin.
Lower cost of labor.
And now they're sending it to Europe.
It's funny that they're building a factory in Germany, but they're sending all their China cars to Europe also.
Right. Well, because, it's a shorter boat, right? But it's also like, the margin difference between the Chinese currency and the euro on a sale is huge. So it's like you're building in Chinese currency and then you're selling in euros, which is a very overpriced currency.
They just confirmed that the Shanghai is achieving its design production rate. So
of 150,000?
Yeah, that's what they confirmed. They didn't say 150 specifically.
Well, that's what they said before.
Designed,
So basically China is expanding is the message here. That's hugely bullish. I mean, so the way I figured is Fremont can do like 400,000 plus cars maybe. And I had China at 150,000. So that's 550,000 cars. So, if you divide that, even if you get to 600, there would be no way for them to do 180,000 cars in the quarter. I only can see them doing 150. So what they're basically saying is somewhere there's added capacity, whether it's in Fremont or in China. And I'm going to bet China. So if you do 200,000, then you get 600. It's it still doesn't work. So maybe they can do 250,000 cars out of China, because that's the only way they can make these numbers.
Yeah. It's interesting. This also said that the average selling price declined slightly because of all the product mix shifts. So I don't know how much of that.
What that means is they're just selling more X's and threes versus S and X. And S and X, are great cars, but when you look at the value in a Model Y, it's pretty compelling. I mean, that's why I bought one too. I mean, it's a compelling argument.
I want to know why. I know several people who have had the S who are going to a Y now and actually have been very happy with it. So,
well, I have to say, I drive both cars, and I have the 3 and the Y. And if I had to, buy one and only keep one, I'd keep the Y because it's more practical in a lot of ways. I do love my Model 3. That being said, when you're talking about paying almost twice as much for a Model X, you start to say to yourself, like, is this a good value? But remember, Tesla wasn't built to be a high-end car company. Tesla was built to sell to the masses. It's really like the modern Ford Motors is the way I look at it. It's like the EV, innovator. And I think that that's what makes Tesla, special is, like a perfect example, when I went to Lucid and I met with everybody at Lucid and the car is beautiful, but the goal of Lucid is really to be more like Porsche. And Tesla's really looking at mass manufacturing. And I think that that's what gives Tesla so much value is that they will be the EV maker.
So you don't think that there's a lot of value in the General Motors $100,000 option?
See, those cars piss me off. Those cars piss me off. Okay, GM pisses me off. Okay, first of all, I'm never going to be seen in a Volt, and now I'm famous for saying it. Okay, and that's true. And I felt bad because somebody in our office actually had a Volt, and then she came up to me and was like, I have a Volt, and I was like, sorry, but I'll never get in it, and then she rolls in with a Model X, right? And we're like, how did you get a Model X? And she's like, oh, I talked my dad into buying it, and now I got it. And I was like, well, I'll be seen in your Model X, So she's got a better than me now, And I'm like, really? And so the GM Hummer. So the problem with the Hummer is it's the same problem they do every time. They make a car that's not as good as a regular GM truck. It's way more expensive than a regular GM truck. So I got to pay twice as much to have an EV. Oh, it's a little faster. Oh, it's an EV. The design isn't that compelling. It's nice. It's nice.
Also assuming that it's actually going to come out then.
How many truck guys are spending $120,000 for an EV truck that you can't charge at a supercharger station? No. See, without the charging, okay, people don't understand how important the superchargers are. People just do not fucking understand, okay? The superchargers make Tesla, okay? If I have to go into a regular charge and I'm driving my pickup 200 miles a day, and I don't think the GM gets the range they're saying. I don't think they know how to build a car. I know how to build an EV car. I've walked through more EV factories than anybody. And I can tell you from my experience, this is a very difficult process. It's an extremely difficult process that almost killed Elon. It almost killed him. So, like, if you think about that what I consider one of the smartest inventors of our time almost died and blew up the company building Tesla. Like, how is GM, which is probably the least innovative company of our time, going to build a truck? So, they partner with Nikola. I mean, how fucking dumb are they, right? GM,
leading the blind.
We're going to partner with a scam. You know how long it took me to figure out Nikola was a scam? I literally did research for 2 days on hydrogen, and I go, this is way too hard. Okay, way too hard. Building an infrastructure. Then I read Milton's plan that he was going to just charge by the mile. Ready. He was going to charge you by the mile. And I was like, and then he guaranteed a price that had no chance of even being real, right? Yeah. So then, he reaches out, oh, let's talk, Ross. Let's talk. And I go, oh, I got a bunch of tough questions for you. And he disappeared, right? And then he invites a bunch of the Tesla people, not me, to go hang out. They went and hang out, and they're like, what is this guy doing, right? And I was like, he's a fraud. Yeah. That's it. End of story.
If you guys don't know this story, go check it out on our podcast. We did a whole kind of expose on it, kind of dove deeper into what went down kind of minute by minute, and just get the popcorn ready.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I know. We have a great podcast on Spotify. We have a great YouTube channel where we're putting up a lot of content to help investors at YouTube. So check it out, subscribe, and like our stuff. Like us on Twitter. We're trying to give you the best information about what's happening in the stock market. See, a lot of people don't understand trading. They think trading is like, if a stock's at 42, I'm going to buy, it's going to go to 45. And they don't understand the dynamics that make stocks move. And the dynamics that make stocks move are the perception of the future and the actual results. So there's the perception of the future, which is your PE ratio, and then your actual results that set your earnings, which set your price. And so what we do at Gerber Kawasaki is we try to figure out what a company's worth. That's actually where we spend a tremendous amount of time. So when people think they're going to do well investing, but they don't spend any time reading financials or understanding what companies should be worth, or never even had a company. A lot of people never even had a company in their whole life, never ran a company, never. So you don't even understand that these are real companies. When somebody tells you the stock market's gambling, it means they don't understand.
They're not just
They
tickers
don't.
on a screen.
They just don't understand. I get it. I get it.
What does
Okay.
Tesla do with their $14.5 billion in cash right now?
How much?
$14.5 billion.
Okay, so
Your cash equivalent.
when was it when they did the secondary at 245 that we bought?
At the
I
end
think it was a year ago today.
Oh,
Somebody punch up when that last secondary was, when Elon needed the money and we went and said, Elon, you need the money. It was like me and Gene Munster. And the next day he raised money because he had already knew he needed the money. They were down to $2 billion in cash at that point. And I remember I was like, dude, if anything bad happens, Tesla's in trouble. And the next day they raised money. We bought into those convertible notes. And I put a couple million into the convertible notes that went up 600% from the time we bought it. And I've sold a lot of those convertible notes now. I did actually, and but
$2.7 billion in May of 2019.
So yeah, it was like a year ago. It was like a year and a half.
Yeah.
So in a year and a half, their cash position's gone from like 2 billion to 14 billion.
Yeah. Well, they just did another.
Basically, it's kind of like Netflix. Like Tesla can now be like, we're done raising money. Like we don't need like to sell 5 billion in stock, give you 1% dilution at the high. Yeah. Elon Musk, you are a smart man. And I was trying to count how rich you were going to be with this betting your entire salary on your stock. No, I was trying to figure it out. He gets 1,250,000 options before the split for every level. So it's like 4 or 5, 6 million shares.
It's a ridiculous amount of money.
Times 400. So it's 2.4 billion every time he reaches a new level. Okay. Yeah. Now this guy took nothing for 2 years and was getting murdered, sleeping on the floor, dying out in the factory, and then he kills it. And I honestly, as much as it like boggles my mind that he's making 2.4 billion every tranche, he deserves it.
The guy literally stopped at the end of the assembly line. The entire fate of the EV world was on his shoulders.
Elon's crazy. So like a lot of people don't understand that about Tesla. Like Elon's crazy. And you cannot be the inventor of our time and be like this normal guy who has like pizza at home at 6 o'clock. It's just like, that's not Elon, And so I think that throws a lot of people off. Like they think they're going to get the inventor of our time who's going to be like plain vanilla guy. And it just doesn't work that way. And so I think a lot of people get clouded, by that. Oh, I like that quote. Netflix, 0% after hours. I like that. Yeah, we're doing a solar ETF.
On here.
We got a solar ETF.
So, what price would you still buy more Tesla at?
What price?
We get asked this a lot.
What type? Oh, this is a good idea. We should get into questions.
Yeah.
What price do we buy Tesla at? Well, let's see. Let's find a multiple that we're happy with.
It depends on if you're establishing a position or if you have the position.
Well, right now, I think Tesla. I think they were saying on IBD that does like 350 next year, 2021. I think that number is low. Let's say they do $4 at 100 times. You're at 400. Okay. Should Tesla trade at 100 times earnings? It's growing earnings by 100%. Okay. So, where's Tesla at today? 430. So maybe you buy it under 400. I personally, before my target was like 300, but but basically like, I feel like the old grandma at the race, you know what I mean? But I don't change my valuation systems just because the market's higher. I think 100-time earnings is maybe low for Tesla, but
would you say
it's hard to argue like, oh, it's cheap at 100 times earnings? It's like, you're schmo.
But some people are just maybe want to.
I don't think you buy Tesla trying to make money tomorrow.
No, for
That's
sure.
not the way I look at Tesla at all. The way I look at Tesla is like the way I look at Apple. Okay, it's like the way I look at Microsoft. It's the easiest stock to buy. Okay, my Tesla fans know this. You just buy it. You put it in your pocket. We'll talk in 10 years.
Yeah.
We'll talk in 10 years. That's why these earnings reports don't matter at all. Tesla's executing. Business plan, executing. Elon, great job. Nothing to worry about. Stock goes down, you buy it. That's what I say. I want the stock to go down.
Yeah.
I want to buy
important that you have to have that stomach to actually, be able to go through the volatility.
Or just
too.
dollar cost average into it. You know, you buy one share. Let's say you got $5,000 you want to put in Tesla. You buy one share every month or every 2 weeks until you get your $5,000 in, and you know.
Yeah. And if you have so much that you're not able to sleep at night, that's not the way to do it.
Oh, that's definitely a rule I have. If I'm not sleeping because of a stock,
that's too much.
Now we manage
much.
like 1.4 billion, and like I do have more nervous nights than I used to when we were a smaller firm. You know, like the nice thing about my wife is she pays no attention to the stock market. I don't even know, like I could have been like a CIA spy and she would never know because like she just doesn't really fully understand or care. I'm not sure, to be honest, which is good. You know, like I don't want to come home to another stock trader. You know, like wasn't my goal in getting married. Some people like somebody who does the same job. I wanted somebody who did something completely different. She has a beauty company, much better. It used to be happier there too, but now she's fighting with people every day, pirating her stuff. It's unbelievable.
China.
Oh my God. Not in China, all over the world.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's unbelievable, the intellectual property theft in the world. But that being said, you know, when you manage as much money as we do, and you own 20, 30, $50 million positions in stocks, all of a sudden these movements matter a lot, you know, and we like to make money, you know, that's why people pay us and we want to be right. And, you know,
I've got another good question too.
Yeah.
So Netflix is the same market cap as Disney. Is Netflix overvalued or Disney undervalued? I like this question.
Yeah, me too. I was looking at this yesterday, you know, and I was like, wait, Disney, refresh, like they're the same price. So here Netflix has a lot more subscribers, 200 million subscribers, but way less revenue, right?
I mean,
and way smaller company. So Disney has an injured, broken part of the company. And my sources inside Disney are not that happy. Okay. My sources inside Disney are saying it's a fucking mess. Okay. That's what I'm hearing. Not going to lie. I love Disney. I'm long Disney. I won't ever sell my Disney, but Disney's a mess. Now, I do think the stock price reflects that. Now, Disney is actually a cheap stock if you look at what's happening with Hulu and Disney Plus. That's what I think. But they own all these things that we don't do anymore, right? Theme parks and movies, hotels, cruise ships.
I rejected again for opening in Disneyland.
Well, they wanted to open Disneyland, and Gavin Newsom said no.
They're protesting.
And
open it.
I think they should open Disneyland, and I'll tell you why. Disneyland is mostly outside. If Disneyland can have a lot of people in it, and if they limit capacity to Disneyland to some reasonable number, I think you can easily make it a safe experience.
I mean, it's open in Florida. It's open.
Yes, that's a horrible standard in Florida. Like shit happens in Florida.
But at least they have a playbook.
Like
now,
gators eat. I think a gator ate somebody at Disneyland, Florida once. No, this is a true story. I think it was like a couple of years ago. Some kid got eaten by a gator at Disneyland, Florida.
I wouldn't be shocked.
So we do not use the Florida standard of safety for anything, okay? For anything. Thank you, Florida, though, because you're a great guinea pig for coronavirus. So we know that Elon Musk can run a factory safely. We know that Disney can relatively run Disneyland safely, but yet Gavin Newsom and Eric Garcetti, granted, abundance of caution, and we are winning against COVID here in California. We're doing very well here. So I don't want to be too critical of it because unfortunately many people don't follow the rules. So they go to Disneyland, they take off the mask, they're all hanging out in a group, and then you get sick people again. And so that's Disney, nor I want to see that happen. So I think it's a tricky thing. But here's what I think. Rapid testing's coming. The vaccine is not the cure. Rapid testing is the cure. This is what we do, the NBA bubble. This is what we do at Gerber Kawasaki. You go take tests. This is how you can go to Hawaii now. You take a test, you get on the plane, you land, you take another test. You're good. Disneyland will have a lab out in front in 6 months. They'll have a lab out in front. You get to Disneyland, you swab, and you're in. You know how long it takes to get into Disneyland? Sometimes it's like 2 hours.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
2 fucking hours.
We're all used to going through the metal detectors when we go to those places, right? So
totally.
Same thing.
And this is exactly the premise that I have about the future, whether it's in music or theaters or theme parks or cruise ships, is that exactly that. our whole lives we go through metal detector. I go to Laker game, I go through a metal detector. I got to take out all my shit. I'm like, dude, I mean, I actually do carry a gun sometimes, but like, dude, really?
Not
Not Disneyland, not Disneyland. Just for the Tesla Q folk. And so it's like, the fact is that if I'm going to wait in a line anyways to get in, and then I'm going to get searched and have some weird person wand me, like, what do I care if they stick another thing up my nose or I spit in a tube? Yeah. 15 minutes, you're in. Everybody's COVID free. You're going to have a great time. That's coming soon. Okay. I think by the middle of next year, rapid testing will be everywhere. Why? It's super profitable. Abbott Labs reporting. So what do we got from Abbott? Abbott is the one who's going to make the money here, guys. Yeah. Abbott Labs is about to make a fortune on testing. They're going to pass this coronavirus testing, national testing policy, because they're not going to solve it without this. Okay. Is Abbott out? No, it's not out yet. Okay.
But even with once their cash
Abbott.
Once their cash cow opens back up, I still think they deserve a higher multiple. The Disney is just such a low PE multiple that's always.
Well, we don't know what he's going to be.
I know, but if you're going to give Netflix a 50 PE multiple for, let's say, why don't they deserve to get a little bit from this Disney?
They're all digital business.
Everything so perfectly.
Well, I think there's this thing because theme parks were like printing money before.
Yeah,
it was cash cow,
and it was growing.
Yeah,
and they just opened all the Star Wars and the expansion, and then it was shut down, right? So
which is super cool, by the way.
I know, and so it's what is this worth? And I don't know, because my basic premise is normal isn't coming back, so Disney's going to have to operate with higher costs moving forward. On any way you look at it, they're going to have to pass those prices on to consumers. So I just think it's still a tough year for Disney in the next 12 months.
Maybe honestly that's a good thing in the end because they're going to get people basically, to this next level of pricing. They already sell out the park pretty much all the time. And so now people are going to be acclimated to this higher level of pricing. And then once things do get back to normal, they do get their costs under control. Now they even have a higher price ticket because people are used to that. And they have Disney Plus. It could be.
And they've lost no demand.
Yeah, no, totally. No demand. People are protesting outside of the Disneyland.
They're open up the mouse house. Sorry, folks. Park's closed. Moose outside should have told you.
It's unreal.
Yeah, seriously. So they got John Candy out the front. You guys never saw that vacation. You're too young.
Don't forget that Disney has cable networks, and that their thing that was their most impressive of all the cable networks, which was ESPN and sports. All sports are down in viewership. Too.
Yeah, but you're missing a point. They make ad revenue, and you've got all this online gambling companies spending a fortune on advertising, a fortune. So that's the upside to ESPN is gambling is a gold mine. Remember a few years back when DraftKings and FanDuel originally came out and they had that war? ESPN had the highest earnings ever. DraftKings is they have a deal with ESPN.
But why is NBA viewership down 50%?
All viewership is down. All viewership is down.
Literally, other than thank God Disney.
TikTok. It's going to be TikTok.
Thank God Disney. Otherwise, they'd be dead.
I don't know. I don't TikTok, but I know
TikTok,
they do.
It's political. It's video games.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's so many different crosswinds.
I don't know. I don't know what kids do. They do a lot of things.
Oh wow! Someone actually did say in 2016 was the Disney Gator attack. There's a question on Tesla again. What do you think the chance of listing under the S&P for Tesla is now that we missed the first S&P inclusion?
Well, I don't think it works that way. I think the way it works is S&P can add kind of whatever they want, right? They can just add Tesla when they want. There's no S&P is just a group of probably white men who decide what goes into an index. It's literally the most ridiculous thing in the world that we care about this, but we do. And so it's I don't know. And nor do I care. The only advantage of S&P inclusion is you have, buying coming in forever, and it's a nice advantage, and I think it happens. But I don't buy stocks based off S&P inclusion. I think it's a, kind of a silly thing, If it's included in my indexes, you should buy it.
Random question on industrial conglomerates.
Yeah.
Actually don't.
Do they exist any longer?
Like home builders.
That's not an industrial
conglomerate. Isn't more the physical economy.
No, a home builder is not an industrial conglomerate.
No, I'm talking about physical economy.
The physical economy, I love the physical economy. We're buying home builders. We're buying ITB and Lennar. And I think everybody wants a home now. They don't want to live in condos downtown anymore. They want to live in the suburbs. And there's just no houses. There's no houses. There's no houses in LA. Everybody pays this high price for a house in LA. And I say, no, you're paying a membership fee.
Country
Okay.
club?
Yeah, because LA is so great. And so it's like normally the houses would be 30% cheaper, but because there's no houses, you have to pay a premium to live in LA. It's a membership fee. It doesn't make any sense what people pay for a house here. You know, it's why I've been renting for years. I don't want to pay the membership fee. The membership fee is expensive because you got to put down 20+% on a house. The average house is $2 million. You got $400,000 membership fee. You know, what kind of place is this? You go to Austin, you need a house. You can get a house $750. You know,
Yeah,
$750, no problem. You know, $1.50, I got a house. So I got to pay extra $200,000-300,000 membership fee just to live in LA. Now the good news is it's way nicer than Austin. As much as I like Austin,
it's way Tesla, right? They're building their factory in Austin, right?
Yeah.
You
No
know,
state tax, no labor laws makes factory.
Are they really going to have Cybertrucks at the end of next year? You think?
No,
It comes out the same time as the Hummer.
the Hummer's not coming out on time.
That's what I think. Okay. Which is why
Hummer's not coming out, guys.
I think both
What about Nextera Energy? That reported
GM's
this
never
morning?
built anything that good. What?
Do you want to talk a little bit about NEE that reported this morning?
I know.
Okay.
It's boring.
Well,
I don't talk about
but-
utilities on the show. I've decided to avoid Verizon. Let's go into questions. We're going to do another 10
Well, if
minutes.
you do want ESG
We're going to do some.
info, that's on
We're going to do
YouTube.
10 more minutes, and then we will move on because, you know, I think this Tesla thing, it's coming down a little bit after hours. The euphoria over doing exactly what we thought they would do is wearing off. But, you know, the main thing for me is not seeing Tesla plunge, 40 points.
Someone wants to know when the next cash cycle episode with Kaz is going to be.
Dude, it's funny you brought that up. I had a disturbing experience. I saw a photo of Kaz on his OnlyFans site.
Oh, yeah, he does have an OnlyFans.
So Kaz has an OnlyFans site, and he's wearing his helmet, his signature helmet, and not many other clothes. Selling Bitcoin this way. And, it's disturbing. So I'm happy to do a cash cycle with Kaz, but I will not be doing it with a half-closed, and I won't be doing it on OnlyFans, as much as I like the site.
I've actually seen a few different Twitch streamers that trade on Twitch go to OnlyFans too. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, because you can monetize. You can monetize. You basically just charge $5 to see my new stock pick.
A nice
We're
blast.
still going to be on CNBC and other media channels, or just
no. We're on all the media channels, and tomorrow I'm doing media on like every channel. This is just that. I'll tell you what it is. The bottom line is most media, when it comes to the markets, I think has gotten. Let me rephrase that. Some media is more interested in trying to get views than put out news, and this is the big problem in media. And so it really was bothering me that we weren't just doing a show about what's really happening with Tesla and whether it's good or bad versus me having to argue with some schmuck. Okay, it's just like it's not helpful to argue with a schmuck, and they keep having these schmoes on. I don't know. I don't understand. If you don't really work at an investment firm, you should not be on financial television. Do you hear me? Check the fucking guests. I'm tired of it. So we're doing our own show for earnings, so I don't have to argue with schmoes who have no idea what they're talking about. What kind of show is this? Oh, Ross, Tesla's going to 20. Oh, I'm Gordon Johnson, or I'm Chris whatever. I'm like, dude, what firm do you work for, Gordon? Where's your freaking disclosures? Okay, they don't exist. Don't get me started.
There's a question on if technical analysts are helpful. I think it's just one piece of the puzzle, right? Like you have to take quantitative, you have to take fundamental, you have to take technical, and kind of all put these.
Well,
things together
we use the three
decision.
phases. So I look at technical, I look at fundamental, and I look at what I call qualitative, which is management and products. This is really important that people don't look at. Qualitative, management and products. A lot of people are just technical. Oh, the chart says this. The chart says
it's
the
kind
chart.
of the easiest.
The chart.
It's
No,
like
the chart doesn't mean
easiest way to do
shit when you get
anything.
hammered. Doesn't mean anything.
Charts are better
to read. That's
Right,
why.
the chart was great. I love this chart. Oh,
What was the technical analysis in March?
fundamental analysis is great in theory, but if you don't have momentum, you don't have people, you don't have the chart working, you can be sitting on a good stock for a while, right?
Yeah.
Like,
What about 3D printing? Someone was asking about
Oh,
DD.
people keep asking me, we didn't make money in 3D printing years ago. I'm still mocked for my 3D printing belief. But the bottom line is I looked at it as a consumer product. I think it's a great industrial product, but it never became a consumer product.
Yeah.
And I'm more a guy who likes consumer products like Peloton or Apple. I'm good at consumer products. Industrial products is not my thing.
I was just having this conversation this past weekend. I go, remember when 3D printing, when everyone thought there was going to be a desktop 3D
Well, no, like Arc likes 3D
Totally.
printing. Arc is into 3D printing.
Yeah,
and I don't question Arc's vision because it's very similar to ours, but like I just
It's just there's just not enough application yet. Like it needs to be like an everyday use.
once again, I think if it's a consumer product and buy one for $300, it'd be sweet.
What about Bitcoin going up? It broke
Yes.
to a new high today. So
Yes,
finally,
Bitcoin.
the crypto nerds were going wild
Dude,
on Twitter, and it's only like a 2-month
Pump
high.
is like the crypto pumper I've ever seen, right? And like I said it on the Pump podcast, I said, you know what's so disappointing about Bitcoin is all these guys were like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then Bitcoin went through the roof and they all got rich and they stopped working. And I was like, you know, what happened to the utility?
Yeah.
And that was my thing. I own these Bitcoins. What the hell do I do with them? I don't do anything. So I get it's gold or whatever you want to call it. I can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So then, you know, because Jack Dorsey gets it, Jack Dorsey realizes that Square can't make a living just processing transactions, right? So he starts lending money. That's not such a good business. Then he goes, oh, well, Venmo is so good. I'm just going to do Venmo. So he does Venmo. And it's great because he's hooked in with the merchants. And he's like, why don't we just add Bitcoin? Now, this is what I told Apple to do with Apple Pay, like I think a fucking 100 years ago. Right? But Tim Cook is too busy saving the world in his privacy battles. And, you know, they missed Bitcoin. Apple Pay could have been Bitcoin and Apple would have doubled, right? And so, you know, the guys at PayPal were like, hey, we have hundreds of millions of users. Let's add Bitcoin. Because the truth is, it doesn't matter what the currency is. It's a digital platform. If the currency could be, you know, Nigerian Rambani or whatever the hell, it doesn't matter. It's just trading. It's electronic, right?
Yeah.
So now Venmo adds Bitcoin, game changer.
And PayPal.
Game changer.
Yeah.
PayPal today came out with
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
as
It's
well.
PayPal on Venmo, on
Yeah.
Cash App. Now you kids running around with your Cash App and your Venmo can now just transact in Bitcoin. And boy, the IRS is going to have a heart attack, right? And it's like, how do I track that? You know, like you can't. So there actually is a question I think they're adding on the tax return that says, have you transacted in crypto and you verify that you've reported your taxes for it? And if you check no, and then they find out you've been trading Bitcoin, they're going to go after you.
Jeez.
Yeah, so they're trying to corner Bitcoin traders into admitting whether or not they're earning money or not. And if you don't admit it and then they find it, now you got tax evasion, and now you got a criminal sentence that you can go to jail for. So, you know, you got to be careful with your crypto trading, you know.
What if there's a question here? What stocks would you recommend to buy if Biden wins? So basically, Biden.
Cannabis.
Definitely.
This is our trade.
Like
I'll tell you the trade. It's cannabis. Okay, cannabis is win-win. Cannabis is win-win. Okay, if you're not smoking cannabis in this day and age, I don't know how you're probably taking another drug that's worse.
You can argue for Trump too, because if he gets elected again, there's a lot of more people are going to need to smoke more.
Oh, for sure. If he gets elected again, I am going to be hitting it twice as hard. Okay, it's like I don't know if I could live through 4 more years of this shit. So I'm looking at other countries now, and there's some really nice options. I don't know if you've been down to Australia, but they got COVID. That's the problem. So I'm looking for COVID-free places, and my number one pick is Thailand right now. So I'm thinking about leaving my family and just going to Thailand. I have a friend over there. I don't think anybody would find me if I went there. Don't tell her. No, I would bring them. I would bring them.
What about Spotify? We've taken a look at Spotify.
No, no. Hold on.
Okay.
Cannabis is really an opportunity. Okay, it's a threefold opportunity. The first opportunity is just legalization. When the Democrats win, notice how I'm saying when. Okay, I'm sorry, Trump people, your days are numbered. It doesn't matter how hard you try to fool people with your fake media and all your threats and burning ballots. You cannot stop democracy. Okay? Bye-bye. So cannabis gets legalized. First thing Kamala Harris does, we legalize it. We can wipe out convictions for literally hundreds of thousands of minorities who've been wrongfully convicted for small misdemeanors that have totally hurt their careers, their ability to make money. It's going to be one of the most important justices that's done is wiping out cannabis conviction. It's been a Jim Crow law for 50 years. Secondly, it's tax revenue and jobs. So tax revenue and jobs is what will also lead the Republicans, if they win, to legalize cannabis as well. The bottom line is states are desperate. I think I read that New York State was like 60 billion in the hole for the year. Okay. So we're going to see cannabis as a real easy solution for taxes and creating jobs, but not just high-paying jobs like in the tech sector. See, the problem with, like, if Amazon grows, they only hire low-paying jobs in factories and delivery. Instacart, low-paying jobs. When Google hires, it's only like high-paying jobs of engineers. But what happens to all the people in the middle? And cannabis is a whole industry, from cultivation to distribution to transportation to finance. There's real estate. There's so many jobs that can be created by building a whole new industry. So I'm super bullish on cannabis. We've been taking positions in the MSOs, not the Canadian companies that only sell in Canada, the multi-state, what we call operators here in the United States. Now, they all trade in Canada. So here's the second part of the opportunity.
Canadian ones have been kind of disappointing.
Most they've been horribly disappointing. We haven't made money yet. So I sold my Canadians and I went to the Americans. Now, here's the trait. Most investors can't buy cannabis stocks because their firms won't let them. Why? Because they trade in Canada. So we've had to kind of cobble together positions around restrictions and things like that ourselves, and it hasn't been easy to accumulate stakes in cannabis companies. Our number one position, IIPR, trades on the New York Stock Exchange. It only owns real estate. It pays a nice dividend. It's actually pulled back 10, 15 points from the high, adding to IIPR. But we've also taken a stake in Curaleaf, which is the largest of the cannabis sellers. I have taken a stake in Planet 13, which is the biggest and most important cannabis retailer in Las Vegas. It just raised money as they continue to expand, as the Vegas market is now coming back. It's also an opening up play. They built a delivery business now, and not just this. They have the biggest pot store in the world. If you haven't been to Planet 13, everything in Vegas is big. Yeah, it's a nice little square. They got the strip bars and the cannabis places like right there. You get off your plane, you
Vegas,
stop by.
what a place.
Vegas is amazing, and it will come back. So you've got this arbitrage as legalization comes. Then the stocks will be able to list on the NASDAQ. Then the different players will be able to buy them. Then institutions can invest. And the minute that happens, cannabis companies double. Right? Like legalization, they just double in value. You include so many investors who can't buy the stock.
All of a sudden be a bunch of top Robinhood positions on the
for sure. I mean, who's going to buy cannabis first? But Robinhood traders for sure. And then you've got number three, the cost of doing business will drop substantially for cannabis operators who literally have to take cash to the federal office to pay, or the state tax offices to pay taxes. They literally have to deal with cash running a $15 million a year dispensary, all cash. Imagine the risk. How much security do you pay for? How much legal bills do a cannabis company has just dealing with the state regulations from state to state? Also, you can't ship cannabis. So California, we have an abundance of cannabis, but I can't ship any to Colorado. There's no interstate commerce because of the way the federal laws work, because it would violate federal laws. So, you have Curaleaf up on the screen. That's moved up from $7 to almost $10 in the last couple weeks as we get closer to a legalization possibility. But when you think about the cost reduction of being able to ship your cannabis to different dispensaries in different states versus having to have a complete vertical business in each state, okay? Every state has to have a completely different vertically integrated pot business. And so these multi-state operators are spending way more money than they need to be running their businesses. So I'm super bullish on cannabis, long-term as a product, long-term from the ability to have access to buy the shares, and long-term in the ability for cannabis companies to lower their cost of operation and increase their margins substantially. The operating margin of cannabis companies is over 50%.
What's super frustrating for me about cannabis is like California specifically is like taxes. And so it's like we're going to have to now trust basically each individual state to judge their state taxes on what cannabis is going to be when it's legal. And we've seen in California that if you tax it too high, that half of it's just going to go back to the black market anyway.
Right.
So they've got to almost come out with like a precedence of like what it should look like.
Well, I think Colorado's done a pretty good job managing the way they do things there, and they've had a lot of success with their programs and generated a lot of revenue. I think California is too greedy. They just wanted too much money from it too quickly and didn't let the business like develop and grow before they taxed the hell out of it. And I think that that's a problem. I think that states can't be that greedy. They have to think long term. But remember, we're dealing with states, so they're all not that smart, and they've got to think about like how does this go. What other questions?
There's a Spotify one. Have we taken a look at it? It's perfect for COVID, they say.
So I know Spotify really well. I have a music company. It's called Cocoon Malibu. You can go to YouTube and watch our channel. We put new artists out all the time. Why do we not use Spotify? Well, we do use Spotify a little bit, but the bottom line is, I hate to say it, but music listening has not gone up in COVID. Okay. And now why? Because we're not in our cars driving from work and back and forth and sitting in traffic where we listen to the most Spotify. And in fact, more people are watching music on YouTube and other platforms than just listening to music. And that's why we built a YouTube channel, because we think music is a visual medium now more. Now, Spotify doesn't make money on music. They make money on podcasts. So they've pivoted into the podcast business. And so what they've done now is they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars to get Michelle Obama, to get Joe Rogan, to get all these people buying all these companies, and all this at the top of the podcast market. Now, if you're like me, podcasts are okay, but they're not great. Okay,
I love podcasts. All I listen to.
Our podcast is great. No, but like I like podcasts, but I think YouTube is much more popular. I think more I would rather be in the streaming business like Twitch or YouTube, where it's visual streaming than just audio streaming and audio podcasts. I think like I watch Joe Rogan video. I don't just listen to it. So I think I was hoping Spotify would get into video, and it makes sense, right? Yeah. And they just aren't. They're not doing video. I think it's a mistake. So I'm not into Spotify. I think Spotify has an incredibly difficult business model to make profitable.
I think people do listen to podcasts. Number one, though,
they do listen.
A lot of podcasts, but I used to listen while I drove all the time. While I drive at least half of what I used to. That's the other thing. And the other thing is just the crazy amount of money that they're paying for these podcasts. It's just an insane $100 million. Like they're throwing around $100 million like it's nothing.
Yeah, and it's like for a podcast that I've got to sell advertising on. Right. But you think about like how much should an ad cost on Joe Rogan, and like who's your demographic, and like how much value does that ad have? And obviously a lot of people watch Joe Rogan, like millions of people watch Joe Rogan show almost every show. So it is like a major network TV show in my mind. But to me, I watch the video. I don't want to listen to it. I want to watch it. And I think it's a great podcast most of the time. I do agree with you that people are listening to podcasts, but my whole thing is there's no barrier to entry. With radio, you had to actually be a radio star. With podcasting, everybody's got a podcast. And so the problem is it's the same problem with Spotify. If everybody can be a musician on Spotify and everybody can be a podcaster, and there's nobody saying this isn't good.
There's the same argument for YouTube.
It's a junk pit.
Yeah, but you can make the same argument for YouTube or TikTok or any of those.
Yeah, YouTube is a junk pit too. But TikTok is not, because they're feeding you what they think you want. When you go onto YouTube, it's feeding you what it thinks you want, but it's wrong. The algorithm's wrong. And partially it's my kid. My kid goes on my YouTube.
Yeah, that's a problem. Everyone's sharing.
I know. And he watches YouTube must think I'm super weird, because like I literally go from like kids shows, right, to then watching like finance stuff and music stuff, and it's like, why is he watching Unspeakable with like Minecraft games, and then he's watching, who knows what? I'm watching Cocoon stuff. What other question?
Not too many more.
So I think the music business is going video. I just put out a blog post on Forbes about it. I think Spotify's not there, and they need to be there. They need to be in video. They need to compete with YouTube for music. And I think kids are watching more music on YouTube than they are on Spotify over time. So I think Spotify is a podcast company, and if they wouldn't have paid so much money, I'd be more attracted to it. But if you pay $100 million to make $50 million, you're just putting Joe Rogan on your channel for advertising. And that's all it is. They're not making money off this, and you're going to see it in the numbers. Like, I still can't believe Snapchat didn't make money. Snapchat had the best numbers they've ever had, and they still lost $200 million. What the hell do they do there? I mean, it's like, and I missed it. You know, I don't own Snap. We own probably 10 shares or whatever. I have a couple clients who own a little, but it's killing me. They can't make money. What else? We got 5 more minutes of the show, and we're going to let you go because we're going to jump on the conference call. We're going to be doing it next week. When's our next show? Thursday, I think next week. I think we're going to do Apple and that massive earnings day next week. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on all the different media channels, starting with IGTV, Victoria, who's great in Europe. And then I'm moving on I'll be on Bloomberg Radio at 12:45. And then I will also, there's one other show. What other show am I doing tomorrow? Oh, Yahoo. I'm doing Yahoo around 12:45. So we'll be all over the media talking Tesla tomorrow.
There's a couple questions on Zoom too.
Yeah, what about it?
Just 1, 5, and 10 year, just in general, what we think about it. I mean, it's obviously insanely expensive.
We own Zoom, and we own not enough Zoom, and
should have had more.
I was. Despite my investment committee bitching of the price, I was like, we're buying Zoom. And then I sold it because I had made money, and then it kept going up. And then my wife berated me about it. And she's like, dude, our kids are on it, I'm on it, and you're on it all day, and the whole world's on it. Buy it back. So I bought it back, like against my better judgment. But my wife is 100% on the 3 stocks she's picked over our 10-year marriage.
My dad's the same way.
3 stocks, our whole 10 years that she said, don't be an idiot. And so I listened to her. So I bought back Zoom. It doubled again. I took some profits recently. Zoom is one of the most exciting companies over the next 5 years, I think. I know what's going on behind the scenes at Zoom. They are not sitting on their laurels just hoping that this glorified WebEx is going to be their gold mine. They are working right now on some awesome plugins and apps and so many ways to monetize.
Even for other people to monetize their own Zoom.
Yeah, like I'm thinking Zoom Music.
You could sell fitness classes.
How about a concert, and then you can see the fans for the show. We're working on this at a company of mine called No Cap Shows. Not mine. It's a company I'm involved with, doing live music streams, and we want to connect it so that you can have a Zoom room like with the band while you're watching the show. There's so much opportunity with Zoom. On top of all the plugins, Zoom also does basically your whole office with phone and other services. So they're really going straight after everybody from Salesforce to Verizon to, don't underestimate Zoom. It's a super expensive stock. Probably the most expensive.
100 times sales.
I took profits again on the second purchase. No, I doubled my money again.
Yeah.
So I sold some again.
Doubled in the last month.
It was 40 times sales, I think it is, or something.
It's 100. It's over 100 times sales.
No.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
No, next year's sales. Just make up a number.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
No, listen, there's no logic to the valuation, and I sold some more again, but I kept some, and we just don't own a lot of Zoom. Zoom is the company you want to get hammered. You want them to have a bad earnings report. They get just hammered, and then you can get in. But other than that, you buy a few shares and ride it. But that's what we did, just because I couldn't not own it, but it's not meaningful enough to really move the needle. Yeah. It's kind of like Peloton. I love Peloton into Christmas. Peloton's going to kill this Christmas, but it's so expensive. It's what's the valuation? 7 million times sales.
What about the semi-space or NVIDIA? If we run out of time.
Well, NVIDIA is one of our top holdings, and I love it. And it's super expensive. It's twice the valuation that it's always been. It always used to trade at 45 times earnings, trading at 90 times earnings or something now. So I had to sell a little bit, but it's a core holding at our firm. Just like when I said take your Tesla, put it away. I think NVIDIA is the second most innovative company behind Tesla. Okay, so if you're talking about who's really changing the world, okay, NVIDIA, number 2 behind Tesla. So you put that in your pocket. You just put it in here. You never look at it again. Microsoft, put it in your pocket here. Never look at it again. Apple, put it in the pocket. So that's my core of my portfolios is built around Activision. You take it and you put it in your pocket. You never worry about it again. Okay, and it's like you take these core holdings, you put them in your pockets, you don't worry around, and then you trade around the outside of your portfolio. That's where you speculate. So you have your core holdings, you don't worry about it. Doesn't matter if the market goes up or down, doesn't matter to me at all. Okay, and then I trade around this. Now I'm going to warn you, if you're trading on margin and you're using a lot of options and you don't have millions of dollars, you are asking to lose a lot of money.
It's true. It's not funny, actually.
Yeah, it's really not.
You are. You do not make a lot of money in the stock market by just adding risk. You make a lot of money in the stock market by investing over time, by saving money. There's no shortcut to building wealth. None. It's called luck. And what we say, buy a lottery ticket. The lottery has a much higher return when you get lucky. When you get lucky, you're done.
That's what we're paying.
$2, you get lucky, and you're done. The stock market, over time, you're going to lose. So it's the best thing you can do is buy and hold and invest and add to your investments over time. Build those blue chips that you put in your pocket. And then when you have some real money, you can buy a little bit here and speculate.
Too. Like it all boils down to like our themes. Like you want, video games, you want tech, you want healthcare. Like these are major themes that are going to be driving the economy and driving the markets over the next 3 to 5 years, really.
Yeah, and basically, when my partner and I started Gerber 10 years ago, our goal was to democratize financial advice. So maybe Robinhood is for the people who want to buy and sell money and make the Robinhooders rich at their expense. Gerber Kawasaki is for financial advice for everybody. Okay, where Robinhood is like trading and losing your money, Gerber Kawasaki is like saving and investing your money. Okay, and we work with young people, and you have this opportunity to work with some of the what I consider most experienced, best investors out there. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. And that's just by simply calling us or emailing us. You can go to our website, gerberkawasaki.com. You can start by following us on Twitter. Look, our track record speaks for itself. You can go through all of my media appearances for the last 7 years, 10 years. You can see our 13F filings. You can go on to sites like Whale Wisdom and figure out our returns. You can figure it out, okay? But we will help you get ahead. It's financial advice is very different than I'm buying a stock. It's about buying it in the right place, like a Roth IRA. It's about maximizing your tax deductions in your 401k. We just started GK Tax and Accounting. Super excited. We can do your accounting and taxes now. Thank God. I'm so tired of accountants. We have an insurance business. We can do your life insurance. Many of you millennials are getting married. You have a pet dog. Do you know what happens to your dog if you die? Okay. If you die, the dog gets euthanized. Do you have a plan? We can do life insurance, and you can have your dog or cat inherit your money. You can. I've done it. Been there. Done it. I had a cat once. A cat. Got 25 fucking grand from a client. I swear to God. Everybody wanted to take care of this cat. The neighbors, oh, take the cat. The kid, oh, it's my cat. I'll take the 25 grand. I go, 25 grand, you can buy a cat enough food for like a lifetime. For 9 cat lifetimes. The cat got taken care of for sure. So if you don't have insurance, you don't have assets, and you got all these pets, you got to call us because you need insurance. You got kids, maybe you wanted to. Maybe you wanted to. Your wife, your husband, maybe you want that too. It's cheap. You're young. Okay, so you got life insurance, you got tax accounting, and most importantly, financial advice and wealth planning. That's what we do here at Gerber Kawasaki. Thank you for tuning in for the Big Earnings Show. We are super excited we did not lose a lot of money today on the show.
Yes.
I think Tesla is about even. No, listen,
it's up.
Listen, these are the days that make me nervous, when you got like 65 million in stock, you don't want it plunging 10%. You can do the math. So we're really excited about Tesla's success and many of the success. We certainly feel for people who are going through a hard time right now. Please be safe. Please wear a mask. It's really, really important that you understand that this is a pandemic and it doesn't care about your politics. And I've seen a lot of people suffer from this. So please, please be smart. wear a mask. We're going to put on our masks now because we're going to leave the studio. I am going to show you how to properly do this. My masculinity is not being taken away from me. I put on the mask, simple procedure here, and now I can go about my business without killing anybody. Now I'm tested. I know I don't have it. Have you been tested? Go get a test. Go get a test. Make sure you're clean. Then you can hug your mom. Your mom needs a hug. Your dad needs a hug. It sucks, this COVID. Get a test. Wear a mask. Hug your mom. You'll feel great. Get out of the fucking house. Go walk around. The world is going on. Just be safe. Be smart. Okay? We're going to beat COVID. It's going to take some time. But we love you all. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.
See you guys. I need to teach them how to block people.
Yeah, people.